Hi guys, so I wanted to make a video kind of clarifying what I was talking about before in the previous video. That was, I guess, the kind of symptoms that I would experience, like that led me to kind of getting the emotionally unstable personality or borderline personality traits, and kind of see what resonates with me. And I think the biggest thing that I have to say, and I've said it before, but it's the shifting sense of identity and the shifting personality. Um, and I guess you can do a lot of research into borderline. That's what people would mostly know it as. So that's what you're going to typically find is BPD, not EUPD. Sounds like a European organisation, doesn't it? European Union Police Department, as I call it. But yeah, I think you need to go deeper into this because it sounds like a very throwaway thing, you know, like it sounds like you say something like it's oh yes, I have a shifting sense of self. Okay, yeah, great. And then I've a chronic emptiness. Okay, but what does that even mean? People hear they hear of BPD and they think to themselves like head case, someone who will change on you. You know, someone who'll be happy one minute, crying the next. And I would say you're more sensitive to the negative shit in life. So that's something I just want to touch on. Is if I definitely do meet the criteria in some ways, but it's not like I'm going around every day losing the head with people. In fact, I'm trying my damnedest not to, and people make it very hard. You know, like say if someone brushes into me, like bumps into me, I kind of make it my mission to bump into that person back, or I'll stick my elbow out into them and kind of go, "What the fuck you doing?" Um, but I'll try my best not to roar at that person, like to scream at them. You know, I'm there like, but I have this deep built-in shame about confrontation, and that's something that I kind of want to talk about. Like I spoke about the truth about confrontation before. I was struggling to think how I was going to make this video. It's something that I didn't know how to phrase, and I made a video before talking about it. But the best way of describing everything like is stuff that most people in the general population, that they can brush stuff off. You are left fixated about that, right? Like if I pull a door that's meant to be pushed and someone has to show me, or even if they don't, I just get it wrong. I feel like a gobshite. I feel like, oh, was I not strong enough to open that door? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's weird. It's stupid. No, you should have pushed it. You pulled it. That's why it didn't open. Not because you weren't strong enough, but that's how my mind will go. I'm not very assured in myself. I'm not sure of myself at all. Like if someone does brush into me and bump into me, I remember before in work, like as I said, I'm not very good with my words. I'll kind of go, and then I'll pause and go, right, the moment has passed. And if I start screaming at people like I want to in the moment, will I look like a complete psycho? Or knowing what I know about psychology, psycho's not the right word, but lunatic. There's a good word. One that I don't like using unless it's in a more comical setting. You know, calling someone a fucking lunatic never works out well. But I guess you're trying not to lose your shit every day. Because I get really paranoid, you know, what people are saying about me. But I remember in work, there was this lad, like, I didn't really, he was very quiet and he was a bit of a know-it-all when it came to preparing food, and, you know, he was doing culinary arts, so he kind of liked to, I think he kind of acted like he was helping me out, when in reality he was trying to act like a bigger fella than he was, like acting like a boss. He could tell me what to do. So like just that's what I'm saying about when you're vulnerable. You know, like when people are showing you around, you are vulnerable to that. So that's something you've got to be aware of. and I don't even know how to title this particular video, but I'm just going to go for it and I'm going to see what you guys think and if you can relate to it. But this lad bumped into me. I thought it was quite rude, like he should have at least apologised, said, "Oh, sorry," because he kind of nudged into me. Or, like, I was twice the size of him, so it didn't really bother me. I thought that was fucking rude. So then when I walked past him, I fucking nearly shoved him into the pizza boxes. And if he said anything, I was going to just justify it with, "Yeah, well, you fucking did it to me." And I kind of thought maybe I did it a little hard. But then the next time he was walking past, he said, "Oh, sorry, Dan," and walked past me. I don't really like to, how would I even, I don't like creating a toxic, let's say, I don't like creating a toxic atmosphere in the workplace or in any environment I have to be in, because I get so anxious as it is. And I try to be pleasant, I do, but I get frustrated. And there's so many things going on in my head. Like, if I lose the plot, if I tell people how I really am, if I take my feelings out on other people, and I show how I really feel on the inside, I'd probably be committed, you know? Because of the negative thoughts and like customers coming in and complaining and giving you shit, and you're just there thinking, have you nothing better to give out about, and you're just there thinking to yourself, "Oh yes sir, no sir, no." Um, when I'm focusing on something in work, if I start losing the plot, I can't get back to what I was doing. I just lose it, I have to focus on what I'm doing. If someone is yapping away in my ear, I'm like, just leave me be. Go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm not listening to them, but I'm there going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever." And then they're going, "Come on, then, hurry the fuck up and hurry, come on." I'm like, "Just give me a second, just leave me be." And then they go, "Ah, for fuck's sake, come on, you should be doing this fast. You're here long enough." I'm kind of like, whatever. I tried to brush it off. Um, yeah, it's very tough. And like one thing that came into my head that I really want to discuss is people at a certain age generally like want to drive. To go, "I want the car, I want to drive, I want my license, I can't wait to get my license." This is an interesting one, right? Because you take off all these milestones. Like, I felt like I was always playing catch up, but something like driving is something I've never wanted to do, and there's a multitude of reasons why. You know, I get stressed even just being in the car with my mum and my brother, or my dad. Seeing people how rude they are on the road, cutting across you, driving on top of you, flashing the lights at you. I'm seeing a lot more accidents on the road as well. I'm a nervous driver, in case you couldn't tell. um, but I think to myself, on top of actually having to get in the car and drive, I have to then insure the car. I have to make sure that it's up to date. I have to make sure that I'm paying all the tax for it. Buying the car is not going to be fucking cheap. What if someone hits me? What if someone keys the car when I'm not looking? What if someone takes the hubcaps? What if someone slashes the fucking tires? What if? Like, and then the fact that I have free travel means that I'm just kind of like, that's more relaxing. I can sleep on the bus, I can do whatever. I don't mind doing that. That's more comfortable for me. That's more relaxing. I stress out so much about hitting milestones, but then I think to myself, if I were if I were a young woman, and I'm constantly thinking this, right? Like, I'm always thinking to myself when I meet a nice looking girl and I'm just chatting to her, I'm kind of thinking, what would what would she get from being in a relationship with me? And I think not a whole lot. I'm there kind of shooting myself down and thinking, fuck yeah, like if you were a young woman, and if I were your father, say, and you were a young woman, I wouldn't advise you to go out with someone like me. And that's a tough thing to admit, but it's true. And the reason being is, it's not that I'm lazy. I've been very proactive before, but my God, I struggle a lot with motivation. It's something that's very tough for me to have. And going into a new job, I feel so much imposter syndrome, which I guess is normal. It is normal for a certain period of time. But there's a thing with autism that I've heard of before, and then you've got borderline on top of it. And I've heard multiple people with autism talking about this, where they feel very dissatisfied with the job. You know, they just feel like they're not going anywhere. Like it's boring. It doesn't motivate them anymore. And there's a thing called alexithymia, and I think like 50 to 85% of individuals with autism also experience this. So it's very likely that I have experienced it. I mean, gee, I don't want to keep diagnosing with stuff, um, like the emotionally unstable traits, personality traits. The borderline traits are something that I've been told by a psychiatrist. But the alexithymia isn't really a very, how would you put this, a very solid diagnosis. It's more of a side effect of having autism, if you like, and that would make sense. I was watching a girl on the channel Soft White Underbelly. Love that channel, Mark Lieta. I think his stuff is brilliant. That channel's really good. But this girl was Cassie was her name. She's a black girl with a nice big um, head of hair, like really cool looking. Not an afro, but her hair looks really cool. Looks really good. And she said she was diagnosed. She's autism, but she was also diagnosed as a sociopath. But then it was later said that she had alexithymia, which is emotional blindness. Now, I don't know if I can relate to all of that because I can get very emotional about stuff, but I can be very numb to a lot of things. Like I should be excited about something. I know everybody else is, but I'm not. I'm like, ugh, let's get this over with. Like, say for instance, that lad's holiday I went on in August. That was more so. I'm not really looking forward to it, but it's something I feel like I have to do because it's a milestone that people do. My parents will be happy if I do it. It's something I should be doing as a young man. So fuck it, let's do it. It's not something I was looking forward to necessarily. Playing games like rugby games and all, any sport in general. Like I did boxing because I thought it was a masculine sport. You know, it is, but the nerves I'd have going in every week, like it wears you down. The nerves you have before a rugby game, and you know what you're doing, but you get so anxious all the time, and it's fucking draining. And now on top of that, like I have to go to the doctors and should have gotten something back about seeing someone in the gastroenterology department. Got that word. um, it looks like I have Irritable Bowel Syndrome, IBS. I'm not going to go into any gory detail about that because I hate toilet humour and all that stuff is disgusting. So I'm not going to, talk much in depth about that. You know, if you know what it is. But it's very uncomfortable. So without going into the gory details, and I live in gory, isn't that ironic? But exercise and like intense exercise, especially cardiovascular, like jogging, running, etc., I would feel so out of breath. My stomach would be distended. It'd actually be worse. And you see everyone around you carbing up before games. So like this is the thing where everybody's ramming the carbs into them, having a big bowl of pasta. Because, you do. Carbs are a great source of energy. With me, it would sit in my stomach for ages. I'd feel sick. I'd feel like it's not getting digested properly. Um, and I know it's a weird one, like a weird reason to take a step back from rugby, but there was just so much going on. I looked at myself playing a game and I thought, fuck me, look at my belly and my lower back. I was just being pulled out. I don't even, I can't really show you here, but like say that's your spine, right? And then it's not really a great example, but would say that's my stomach, and it was just like that, and my back was getting pulled forward, and that's my belly. Like let's say my abdominal muscles that you can't see ever, but it just gets pushed out. It's like there's a big ball of air and acid. Um, and I know autistic people can have more sensitive stomachs. Like there was a lot of autistic people in the Wexford local development group, and a lot of unemployment, unfortunately, with autism. Which, yeah, it's tragic to say, it really is. But they've a lot of dietary requirements. Was the point I was going to make. So there's sensitivity to it'd be more sensations of food like sauces, etc. Gluten as well. But see, like I'm a hooer for bread and sandwiches and all that sort of thing. I kind of neglect autism a lot and forget that I have it, and I'm thinking there must be something else, but it brings its own challenges. And I've had gastrointestinal problems before. Gastroenteritis, I've had that about 3 times in my life. Um, but like saying an hour's journey um, on a bus or whatever, I always have to go to the toilet. Sometimes I'll have to stop and get off and go into a garage or something. Um, and it could be either number one or number two, but like I piss like a racehorse, put it that way. It's more what it is, but um, I get very dry mouth, I get very dry, so and I sweat a good bit. I lose a lot of electrolytes in my sweat, and yeah, it's very uncomfortable because in one way I'm very dehydrated, and then another way, if I don't drink a shit ton of water, then I get dehydrated, but then I'm pissing like a racehorse. Um, I sweat a good bit anyway, and I always have, which is very, you get very aware of it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's not very comfortable. Sometimes like I just fucking hate my body and everything about me because it's not easy. You try and get back into exercise now. There's an unbelievable amount of stress which causes inflammation for that yoke. And as I say, I've never been very lean. I've struggled to get lean and stay lean. Um, but yeah, like day to day is hard because the feelings of emptiness are very real. You don't feel fulfilled by anything, and I don't know what it is. If it's alexithymia, if it's because I've got the emotionally unstable personality traits, um, the autism like that I've had since I was I've had it all my life, but I don't know. Like it's fucking so hard. I won't even sugarcoat it with you. Like I make these YouTube videos, and I know people have reached out, and I'm really glad that you all have. But it's therapy for me as well, as I've said. But I remember it like I was talking about milestones there, getting through school, milestone, going to your Debs, milestone, graduation, milestone, and then like going to college, kissing girls and whatever. Obviously having sex is another one. Uh, but a relationship was something for me, and I kind of I'm not the type, as I say, to just get involved in relationships if I've no chemistry with the person. Because I've seen how miserable a lot of people are, even at my age, in relationships where there's no chemistry. But you think to yourself, what can you actually bring to a relationship? And like I think I have a good personality, like I do. I'm able to keep a conversation going. I can talk about fucking anything, you know. It's not just topics that I'm interested in, like they say autistic people are. No, I can talk about anything, whatever you're into. Now, I have a tendency to ramble about stuff if I'm interested in it, but if I know someone well enough, I literally tell them, look, feel free to tell me I'm rambling, and I like if I trust you and I say to you, like I will let you know. Um, just feel free. Dan, you're rambling. I'm like, all right, yeah, bring it back. But yeah, talking about the shift in sense of identity, I remember like thinking if I got in good shape and was built like a brick shit house, like lean but muscular, women would flock to me. Not the case because I didn't have much of a personality at all. And actually, the way I was going about it was attracting more male attention, as in lads talking to me, because I'm not a fucking expert on women, but in fairness to a lot of them, they want the confident lad who is sensitive, respects them, and you don't have to be this macho man. You don't always have to be. You just have to be able to have a conversation, be a decent guy, have a bit of a personality, listen to what they're saying. Like, I remember before like coming into college after, as I say, a big gaping black eye in my face, and thinking, oh well, I hope the girls find that attractive, and I actually looked quite good, but I said it in a previous video, and I wanted to add to it. I looked really good, I did, but I had so little confidence. And I think there's a whole reason for that. Like, in primary school, I found it way too uncomfortable being around people. Like, it was literally just sport. Loved rugby, loved football, they could talk about that, but that's not something that women want to talk about. I'm not saying women aren't into sport, and I've had many good conversations about sport with women, but you have to connect on a deeper level. That's something that I really think you do have to do, and that's fair enough. Any of the women I like are usually quite outgoing. They're into sport, um, but there has to be more to it, and I have to have more confidence. That's something that's attractive, definitely. I feel like I'm able to make a lot of people laugh, but don't know. They don't seem to see me as boyfriend material. I was trying to always make a persona that wasn't really mine, and I've touched on that before. But it's a shift in sense of self. Like, I don't know my own worth really, because there were so many things that I thought if I did them, I'd be sorted in life, and it just hasn't turned out that way. And I keep wondering what if. And I think I wouldn't like to be someone who has no empathy. Wouldn't that be a shitty existence? Like, just only caring about yourself and nobody else. Um, Definitely wish I was more confident, but I'm getting there. I think there's a lot of people that'll step all over you, and I'm paranoid about that fact. But you think to yourself, with toxic individuals, you're not going to spot them. I've let toxic people into my life because they've bought me stuff, like they'll buy me a can of Monster or a pint or whatever, and you think, oh, this is a sound guy, or this is a nice girl. I'm a lot more trusting of women than I think we are in general, but I find I let women in a lot easier than I do men, and then they tend to kind of use that against me. I'm a lot more on my guard with men. I'm a lot more defensive, and like, if you come near me, like, if you say stuff to me, I can just brush it off. But if you come near me, my guard's up and I'm ready. Um, at least to defend myself. I'm kind of like on my guard. I'm edgy, at least ready to get out of the situation. With women, the guard goes down, and I think I'm more vulnerable to letting them in a bit too much. At least the wrong kind. Um, yeah, I certainly think, like, having female friends, you get to kind of know what a girl is actually looking for. She's not looking for some prick who's full of himself. Well, I mean, then again, you do see women with them. I was only watching, that guy that's basically a rip-off merchant, Wes Watson. That's all he is, really. Going around throwing his weight around, and then when someone actually calls him out, he has them thrown out of a gym or in a safe setting. Greg Doucette called him out, and there's a lot you could say about Greg Doucette himself, but it was funny to watch because he was right. It was like, you're calling someone out in front of a load of people where you know you're safe. And how many people do we know like that? And then he shows, like, your man Wes Watson shows complete disregard for a guy going around clearing leaves near his mansion. Now, I don't see the point in leaf blowers. They seem like such a pointless thing, because you're just blowing the leaves from one place to another. Why not just pick them up and move them? Dispose of them properly in a garden waste centre, but that's beside the point. There's a lot of people like Wes Watson who that type of work is too menial for me. I'm too good for that shit. You'll see it. And that's how people get you. They'll never appreciate a menial, even menial. Let's say minimum wage. Minimum wage jobs are usually the toughest, because you have to deal with the general public. They can be backbreaking, and people who haven't done them can be arrogant and cocky. Like, you can wonder, why is this person so arrogant? How could they possibly be that out of touch? They think you're worthless because they've never had to do a job like that. They might have had a summer job in their parents' business, say for instance, and they think to themselves, yeah, I know how to work hard, but you're not going to get fired. It's your parents, and you don't really appreciate what it is to go in when you don't know anyone. It's a whole different ball game. If you know people going into a job, it is better, and like I would recommend that to be more comfortable. But also go in when you don't know anyone. Apply for a job where you're going in fresh, and how would I even put this? You're fresh, you don't know anyone, and you've no rights. And I know that's a weird way of saying it, but basically what it means is they're not going to give a shit. You don't do the job. There's no leeway. Like I've had jobs with family members, and there's a lot more leeway because they know you, they love you, and they don't want to sack you. But they're like, ah, come on. Like my dad would be quite old school that way, and I wouldn't even dream of being a mouthpiece. If I'm with him, I'll work, and that's a good thing. That's something good that he's given me. I wouldn't take the piss because he's my dad, and I know, like, and even if, like, say I was working for him, I'd never be the type to lord it over, and neither would my brother. We're both kind of like, we've got that shame, which can kind of be a good thing, but also a bad thing. I couldn't imagine being like, oh, I'm the boss's son, so you clean that there, mate. And I'm kind of like, can you imagine being that much of an arsehole? I would never be able to do that. I'd be ashamed of myself if I ever got to that level. So that's a good thing. And like, I've respect for kitchen staff because I've worked in a kitchen. And anyone I've ever met that worked in a kitchen is like, yeah, no, I understand that completely. They're always helping you pile everything up, and they're like, oh, look, I understand that if there's a bit of a weight in the food, I get it. I've been there myself, don't worry about it. The cockier customers you get, they've never done any of that type of work before. And then my mum worked in a law firm, for solicitors. So it really, and the way she said it, you kind of can picture it yourself. You know what lawyers are like, but they don't appreciate the hard work she has to do. Like she's a secretary by trade, and by the sounds of it, they really just don't appreciate what she had to do. Because you're here to serve me, you're beneath me, so you have to serve me, and if you don't, we'll just get somebody else in. That kind of way, not appreciating all the hard work that my mum has to do. And besides that, without her, the place wouldn't run without people like her, But they don't appreciate that. And like when I was working, I was kind of comparing this with her, but when I was in the utilities department, the manufacturing department are the ones that actually make the pills, so they're or the drugs, whatever it happens to be, but they were really arrogantly, really full of themselves, and they were basically made to feel superior to everybody else. But our department, like the department I was working for, if we didn't do the job of servicing the water systems, making sure that it was up to date, clean, running smoothly, sanitised, well then fuck all's going to get made, But just the disregard they had for us was very obvious. It's always a system of hierarchy, and I think you just kind of have to live with it, unfortunately. But I couldn't imagine being that way. It's just not in my nature. Like, I know I have to be more assertive, and I think it can be, and I think it's a good thing that I can be more assertive now, but I've learned to do that from being humble, if that makes sense. Like my dad's an electrician by trade, so I have an appreciation for how hard he had to work, like hauling cable around in the pistons of rain. Like I'd say it's a humble enough background, I don't look down on anyone who did construction work, and as I said, I've done it myself. I just think there's not enough incentives in it, but bottom line is without people in construction, nothing gets built, and the building that I'm sitting in now wouldn't be built. So I always have an appreciation for that kind of work. But when everybody was hammering into me go to college, I thought, yeah, that'll suit me and everything will work out. But look at it now, I go in and I'm kind of just thinking, man, I want to quit right now. I thought to myself, oh yeah, get a trade, that'll sort you, you'll be a real man. Be a rugby player, get a scholarship and all, but just got promised a lot of things and never got delivered on. Um, and then get a college degree, everything will work out. Thought that myself. Um, was in like, and that's the thing, be in good shape, and then everyone will love you. It's very difficult. It is like it's a tough existence a lot of times for me, and I know a lot of people are going through this shit as well. But I can only speak from my point of view. Like I'll meet someone that I'm attracted to, and I'll think, oh, I'd love to go out with this person, and it's not just them. There's a lot of cases now where I feel like I'll be used and abused because I am quite chivalrous and I look after people, which I have also discussed. But when I look good, I feel like, oh, I can only go downhill from here, And am I good enough for this person? Are they attracted to me? Am I attracted to them? Yeah, everything seems to be going well. And then I kind of think, oh, what's the point? It'll only fail. I'll only set myself up for disappointment. It won't work out. And then you kind of give up, you know, which is hard. It is. It's very difficult. And you see people who are arseholes and they get by in life, and it is like, I wouldn't be able to behave that way. That's just not me. And even like dealing with confrontation, like, I don't like giving out to people and going, here, you fuck off, or I prefer to go, sorry, you wouldn't mind, in a more relaxed kind of manner so I don't lose my shit. And then if someone is rude, you can kind of take it from there. Let's just say, for instance, for a second, like if you did unleash and you made your feelings known, I know it can seem like a good thing at the time for anyone out there who has emotionally unstable personality disorder or the traits. But let's just kind of imagine if we did just lose our shit all day, every day, what that would mean for us. Like in college, I knew people were making snide remarks before, if I'd ask a question, because, like, yeah, I've got a sciencey mind and I think about stuff in a very scientific kind of way. But I didn't know what I wanted. I still don't, to be honest. But I could hear like sniggering, and you kind of look at someone and go, "Sorry, what you say?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't say anything." And people are very clever and very good at getting away with it, being sneaky little fuckers. If you start screaming at everybody, imagine that the paranoia that's going to exist when everybody goes, "Oh, there's the guy who did it." You have a meltdown, you have an episode. And I wouldn't have gotten through college if I did that. I would have been fired from jobs if I did that. It's what I feel like doing in the moment, but if you do it, you're gonna get in trouble, and then that means you internalise a lot, which wears you the fuck out. It's exhausting to deal with. Um, as I say, having meltdowns as a kid and everybody staring at me and my family and feeling like such a fucking freak, like a sideshow. Um, but then like you get respect when you fight, you do. But I was only looking at this the other day, or this week, sorry. A mate of mine that I used to play rugby with moved back to Australia. Good lad, Robin Tupovoy, Tups as we call him. Big Samoan and Maori fella, big Polynesian lad. I thought he made a very good video. Him and two of his mates were attacked by eight lads, and one of the eight lads stabbed one of his mates three times. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that, because I just think to myself, what goes through your head when you do something like that? You have to be so concerned. And I'm not happy that happened, of course, but it makes me realise that the times where I chose not to let my emotions get the better of me, that was the right thing to do. When stuff is being said to you and people slagging you off, and you're like, oh yeah, or then you go, oh, you're a fucking prick, and you say stuff back, and then it's you against everybody else. You're kind of there thinking to yourself, oh, should I just start throwing digs? And people are like, man, you should knock him out, like, listen to him. And you're like, yeah, I probably fucking should. But you have to think to yourself, is that fucker gonna stab me? If that fella lays a hand on me now, I'm able to defend myself. Or as I talk about with that gear guy, Paul, lad who makes his own YouTube channel, he'd be better placed to give you advice on that than I would. But what he said was, if you feel threatened, if you feel like someone is about to attack you, immediately you can do something about that. So I'd take his advice on that. If you read the situation, and I'm listening to that, the gut, it's big enough, so I may as well listen. Yeah, whatever I've done has got me out of the situation. But sometimes, like when someone bumps into the car with their door and you want to just roar at them and scream, you do. And what I normally do is bump into their fucking car on my door and think, fuck you. But something comes over me. I'm like, I'm not threatened by this person. They're a dickhead. I'm well within my rights to give out to them. I'm like, sorry, will you watch the door? And they're like, oh, what? And they're like, you're after hitting the door, will you be careful? It's very uncomfortable for me to say that. Now, I feel good after just saying it in a relaxed kind of manner, but I'm kind of building up to it and feel like I have to do something, or I feel like an impulse to say something. A lot of times I just get so emotional that my family will say, you stay there, Dan, we'll deal with this, and they kind of read it and go, I won't handle it the best. And that's fair enough. You feel kind of undermined then, and I don't know whether to act or not act. There's been a lot of push and pull, which is what defines emotionally unstable personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. But that's the thing, like whenever I have stood up for myself, I feel like people have given out to me or told me, oh, what are you doing that for? You sound like a freak, you sound like a weirdo. Because I will go up and say stuff, and like even in the gym before, this is kind of a funny story. Me and my brother were deadlifting. It's obvious, we're using the space in the gym. We're there kind of thinking to ourselves, we're using this right now. You can use it after. We're not taking up the whole fucking thing for everybody, of course. And that's just rude. But I find a lot of young girls are just oblivious to you. A lot of young lads will acknowledge it to a certain level. I feel they can be dozy, but I feel like young girls now, there's a lot of them that think that they're the best things in sliced bread, and they just think, I am perfect. You are, you should admire me. The ones who like posting pictures of their arse in the gym and then giving out to you for staring at them. I mean, not staring, that's creepy, yeah, it is. I think we've all been caught, fellas, haven't we? Eyeballing the yoga pants. But I digress. Yeah, creep alert. But you see a good looking girl in leggings or yoga pants or whatever. We all look. I'd say even, I've seen other women even looking. An attractive girl, and you know the types that are just always drawing attention to themselves. And I remember before even trying my damnedest not to look like a creep, and I was looking away and I was making sure not to look. And my poor brother before, there was literally a hack squat machine, so you hook yourself in, you go up and down, but you put your back to it, and she literally put her stomach on it and was like facing him, so it's literally like arse to eyes like that. You're kind of going, here, come on. And you're thinking to yourself, fucking hell, like I'm trying here. But those are the types of girls I'm talking about. The ones who are like right in your face, but then, oh, you're such a pervert when you're like, there's a whole gym, like you can easily avoid bumping into me. There's one girl literally like walked up and stood in the back of my heels before. Like, was literally on the back of my heels and didn't realise what she was doing. And I was like, watch it, will you? Like, excuse me. Just oblivious to the fact that she saw her friend or something, and she fucking, like, only, like, slightly, like, the back of my heel, like that, but I was like, would you fucking mind? Are you that oblivious? But I'd have such a tough time, like, screaming at her and saying, here, get the fuck. You don't want to look like a lunatic. I was just like, here, do you mind? That's what I said, like, I didn't say, oh, here, fuck off, or do you fucking. I was like, excuse me, you're standing on my heels. Oblivious. I was like, get off me. And then these two girls, like, getting back to the story, when me and my brother were doing our deadlifts, she puts her stuff right down beside where we are, just taking up the space. And I don't know what like, I wasn't threatened at all by this. Like, it was two young, good looking girls, yeah. Um, Probably around the same age as us, actually. We're still relatively young. But at the time, like, I was in my early 20s, and my brother, I think, was still in his teens. Doesn't matter anyway. But I couldn't say anything. I was like, they're being ignorant fuckers, but I just couldn't say anything. Um, yeah, there's certain groups you just can't say anything to, but I thought I'll do something smart. I'll start taking the plates off and start dropping them on her on her jacket. And I was there like giving you a fucking hint here. Like, it was right next to the barbell, so like was yeah, right next to the barbell. So I start like unloading the thing and just letting them drop. I was like, there we fucking go. And she starts lying down, and I was taking the plates off. It's kind of like, you're on top of us, and the thing fell in her hand, and I was like, oh, sorry. Like, smart like that. Um, yeah, it's a tough time being assertive, like, if someone's making noise in the cinema or something, you go, oh, shut the fuck up. Now, if it's a shit movie, you're kind of like, alright, yeah, look, doesn't really matter anyway, does it? But there's always this back and forth in my mind of, should I do something or should I not? Or should I say something? Should I go up and complain? And then I've got a compulsion to do it, but then I'm kind of like, oh, but will I look? Here's the thing, that it's more about looking like a freak or an arsehole. I think I'm more afraid of that, like looking like a lunatic, an arsehole. And as I say, I've never been the best of my words, but I'm getting very good now. Being assertive, but not a dickhead. And I'm afraid of looking like a dickhead. Like, I've noticed that before when I go out, and I'm always like, oh, that was probably a real wanky thing to do, wasn't it? Like, that was a real arsehole move. When it probably isn't, and a lot of people wouldn't think twice about it. But for me, I'm kind of like, oh, I look like such a dickhead, such an arsehole. You're constantly wondering, was that the right thing to do? Did I do the right thing there? How will I be perceived now? It's always going back. It's exhausting. Then in training, like, who do I talk to? What group do I socialise with? Who do I go over and chat to? I'm worried about that before I've even gotten into the nitty gritty stuff. And then, as I say, all these health problems coming up. Like, my stomach has been in knots. I've had really bad cramps. I've cut down, like, I'm having like 2 cups of coffee a day, as opposed to 4 or 5 like I used to. I love my coffee. I really do. Um, I'd love to have a relationship. That's something I really want. In the future, and I have to have someone who will accept me for who I am and what I am. Like, I have done a lot of work on myself, though. Like, considering where I could be at. Like, I've gotten through school despite being very suicidal at one stage, and that carried on from school. You know, like, my dad left twice growing up. My mum was destroyed after that. For a while, school was not easy. Had to deal with a lot of bullshit in school. Played rugby, played football, did boxing. Went to the gym, did Olympic weightlifting. When I got too fat and unfit for cardiovascular sport, and I still tried to keep up with that anyway. Like, joined the rugby team, we came down here to Wexford. The lads couldn't have been nicer, as I said. Graduated college, got rugby player of the year in school. Got full honours in college as well, which is an achievement in itself, considering where I was at. Went to my lads' holiday, went to my debs, um, went to my school graduation and had a great time. Had a good memory as well. There's like, despite us not getting on, we all, even lads that didn't get on with in school, we finished thinking this was our year, and we all had a good laugh. We had a good time. Had our debs, and it was a good way of just signing off. do think back and wonder if things had gone differently, what would I be like? But there's a lot of lessons I've learned. Like there's a lot of people who will sit there and judge you, and when you're putting yourself out, you know, there's so many people that will, if they're smarter than you, they'll only challenge you to something that's academic. They won't challenge you to anything that's physical because they know you'll beat them. And then you'll look like, oh, well, why are you getting so competitive over nothing? Drives me fucking mental. And highly manipulative people and cocky, toxic people will do this. Where they'll be like, oh, I'm just that good, I'm much better at you. Much better than you at this. Or if someone, I don't know, if someone is, say, a runner, but you might be stronger than them, they'll probably challenge you to a run. Because they'll obviously humiliate you because they run, they do it, you don't. Whereas I might beat you in an arm wrestle or a deadlifting competition. I've put myself into situations where I knew I was going to probably lose, but I did it for the crack. And probably looked like an absolute fool at it, but fuck it, did it anyway. Like I've put myself in so many situations, and I feel like there's very little reward in doing it all the time. People just judge you, take the piss out of you. You're more of a target, but with that also comes an admiration for fair fucks because you got balls, you did something, so well done. But the shift in sense of self, like, it's definitely true. So like I don't have that belief in myself. The empty feeling, that would explain like the binge eating that I used to do, and the body dysmorphia that I had was purely down to just having such a negative self-image. I've got to be thinner, but then I've got to put on muscle. You're not able to do that. If you want muscle, you got to be in a calorie surplus if you're doing it naturally anyway, and that is a whole different ball game. Who's natural and who's not? You're looking at people who are taking steroids and they won't admit it, but I think at a certain point don't you? But it's very simple. Calorie surplus, eat more calories than you burn, lift heavier weights from like a smaller rep range, and you will gain more muscle, but you're going to gain more fat as well. Simple as. Want to lose weight, be in a calorie deficit, eat less, burn more calories than you consume, and then I would advise that you do more reps at a lighter weight, just to keep the muscle under tension. And then what you can do is you can keep a good bit of muscle, but also burn the fat. It definitely works really well. And as I say, I was going to try doing that next year because I've got a bit of timber to lose. But then there's medication. Like antidepressants will put on weight. There's no two ways about it, they will. Being depressed will put on weight, because the energy is gone. You don't have it. Being autistic can cause digestive problems, which means it's going to be hard as well for you to eat certain food without feeling sick. You can develop IBS. I know I have a friend with autism who has Crohn's disease because of his restrictive diet, so he can only eat certain foods and he has to be very careful about what he eats. So that's a little example. No, it's difficult because you see people who know what they're all about, Like, I'll give you an example of a friend who knows that they're into the army, that's their thing. Noel, I'm meeting Noel actually on Saturday, can't wait to catch up with him. But that's his thing, it's what he's always wanted to do. He knows retail is not for him. So that to me shows autism is not really this, the shift in sense of self. In fact, I think you know yourself more if you've got autism, because you know exactly what you like and what you don't like, and you kind of have a rigid sort of routine, which the army is perfect for. So fair play to him, he's absolutely killing it. Over in Britain, probably the wrong choice of words, killing it, but we won't judge him for joining the British Army. He's a good guy. I have a mate who is a carpenter and joiner. He had an uncle who kind of showed him how to do a few things, and he kind of got motivated by that and was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. So there you go. Another mate who was an electrician, his cousin was an electrician, got him into that company, so that's what he decided to do, had a good time doing it. Now his younger brother, who's a good lad as well. I think he's doing the same thing. So you see how you kind of go, oh, I admire that person. I want to do what they're doing. I kind of never got that, you know. I admire that person. I want to do what they're doing. I looked at Rocky Balboa and thought I wanted to be a boxer, but then when you think about it, it's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? One lad batters another lad down one end of the ring, and then one lad batters another fella back down. I think I would like to get into another sport. Maybe I was looking at jiu-jitsu, and I think it'd be good for me. Just for my fitness and my confidence, you know, being able to defend myself, I think would be very good. Like I have done with my words, and when it's gotten physical, I've shoved someone away and been like, look, just fuck off. Normally, there'd be people to break it up. But I think it definitely adds to your confidence as a human being if you know shit hits the fan here, I can deal with it. It's important to know that. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's very uncomfortable not knowing yourself. I always thought a rugby player, yeah, I didn't count on the fact that I would have serious mental health problems, which significantly impacts every aspect of your life. But when you do have EUPD traits, you don't know yourself. That's part of the diagnosis, a shift in sense of self. There's a lot of frustration with that. Like I thought I was going to be a rugby player, thought I'll be an electrician. Like my dad, he tells me not to go into that. Electricians are two a penny. Um, Found construction sites to be quite a depressing and miserable place, full of workers who aren't appreciated. There's not as much job security in Ireland in that type of work as you'd like to think. It's very difficult, you know. It's a tough job, and also I'm prone to gambling and drinking, so that's an environment that would definitely negatively impact me there. As did rugby. You know, there's a lot of drinking in rugby, and you're there thinking, well, you just don't drink. Very hard when you're actually there. The peer pressure is unbelievable. You've just played very well. You're very awkward socially. Have a few drinks, loosen yourself up. You can chat about the game, something you have an interest in. Feels great. You have a great time. It's not a bad time. It's wonderful. But it's the aftermath that fucks you. Um, then I thought, oh, I'll be a scientist. I still think I'd like to do that. Like science would be an area I'd like to go into. Um, Also, like as well because I have an attraction for women in the science industry. I just find intelligence very attractive. So that's kind of something that that I like. You like guys like nurses or they like business women or I like scientists. I think it's an attractive occupation for a woman. I just think brains and beauty is the ultimate combination, isn't it? Plus, you meet a lot of like-minded people. I'm not saying I'm only going into it because I'm attracted to female scientists, but it's definitely something that I am attracted to. You know, it's just knowing someone being intelligent is attractive to me. That's why Um, I think a lot of men put looks before brains, which I don't think you should do. I think an intelligent person is an attractive person because they can go up in attractiveness a lot for me if they're good to talk to, you know. That's just something that I think. But yeah, like having the current situation that I have at home, I feel like there's always something going on. My mum's not at 100%. My brother's not at 100%. I'm not at 100%. You kind of worry about them and think, well, they're going through shit as well. We're all just holding on. But at least I've been doing stuff. That's the main thing. Not knowing who you are, that was difficult. Not knowing this is who I am, this defines me, and this is what I like, this is what I'm good at. Be more to the point, Always chopping and changing between things is not good for you. Um, but sure, look, hopefully I'll get there. I'll have to. Something's got to change, and I hope it does. Um, But when you try and battle through the mental shit, and then you've got physical symptoms as well, like I was saying, my dad leaving, my mum being upset, moving house, going through so much shit in school, a grandparent dying, and my dad and mum getting a divorce. It's fucking horrific, it's like double whammy. Um, Losing friend groups, which is very traumatic, it is. Um, Suicide attempt, you know, problems with alcohol, problems with your mental health, your loved ones not being well, my mum getting very sick. Yeah, it's all very difficult. I'm looking forward to Christmas, but I do find it very hard, like, to stay motivated. I can get worn down, and that's why, like, the little things can get to me. But then when I have lost a head before, you look like a lunatic, you look like a head case, and you feel, oh, who saw me, who's going to remember that? Fuck, what have I done? This is so bad. I'm such an arsehole, I'm such a bad human being. And like interviewing my mate Stephen from work about borderline, uh, I just think like it's got um, such a negative reputation. When in reality, there's so much pain that goes along with it. Like autism doesn't explain this feeling of emptiness, this misery, like the difficulty getting out of bed. The mornings are so tough, like they are. No matter how hard I try, like getting up and getting out is so hard for me. This was going to be an in-depth video, and I'm gonna just give you an idea of the challenges. I think I'll make another video talking about that. But look, that's the feeling of intense intense emptiness. There's a void there. When you want to fill it up, there's just such a void, a massive big black hole that you need to fill up with food, binge eating, alcohol, drugs, you name it, porn, whatever. And then for me, like sabotaging relationships because I don't want to drag people down, them being afraid to be alone, it's very hard. And I don't think that the people with borderline are all head cases that lose the plot with people. I think that comes from a sheer frustration and a fear of losing people. Feeling the need because you rely on other people for validation. You know what I mean? Well, whatever the fuck it is, guys, I hope it improves. And if you've watched this far, thank you very much. See you in the next one.